Hi, I'm Jeremiah Butler, and I want to tell you about a Jesus encounter that I had that was very memorable. It was about my stepfather who was using crack cocaine, and it ruined my whole childhood, and I had so much hate and bitterness towards him because of that. And in this encounter with Jesus, he really took the time to work that out of me and explain forgiveness and the whole meaning of the cross. And in that encounter, it drew me closer to him and really taught me a lot about relationships and about letting go of the hate and all that, the pain of my past and all that, and really looking forward to the future and the new life that I have in him. That one encounter with Jesus is very memorable because, I can now move forward and not just, having to hold on to that excuse. That was my Jesus encounter. Get ready to engage with the story of another person who had a life-changing encounter with Jesus.
Hallelujah. Jesus encounters. How many of you have had an encounter with Jesus? If you haven't, you can, and you will. We're trying a little experiment here, so be patient. You're expecting us to receive an offering right now. We're not going to do that. I'm going to preach, and you're going to fill the altars, and then after that, we're going to receive the offering from the back to the front. I know that's confusing. Just seems like, why are we doing it back to front? We're going to do it back to front, and then we're going to pray for it, and then I'm going to pray for you all. We're going to just try some new stuff. Is that okay? Yeah. All right. So Luke chapter 8, while you're turning there, in the month of Proverbs, last month I mentioned about reading a proverb every day. Today's March 1st. We could all read Proverbs chapter 1. On March 2nd, we could all read Proverbs chapter 2. On March 3rd, we could all read Proverbs chapter... On March 30th, we could all read Proverbs chapter 31. So every day, I'm asking us, challenging you to read a chapter out of Proverbs. And to help encourage you in that, on my public profile page, I will post a little thing about one of the Proverbs, one of the things from that chapter every day. So you can go to my public profile page, or you can just go to the church profile page, and the church page, and it will have a little thing about Proverbs. It says, foolproofing life. There's lots in Proverbs about what the fool does and why it causes him all kinds of distress. And there you can click the link to my public figure page, and you will find it there. Rather than cluttering up the church page with them all, just put it on my page, and you can go there. Everybody okay with that? Also, we're having 10 days of prayer that's starting next week, and you can find that stuff in the bulletin there. I heard something last week that has stuck with me. Somebody from another church said to the staff and others, they said, what if we lived as if prayer was our only resource? What if we lived as if prayer was our only resource? That would change some stuff, wouldn't it? Yeah. We'd pray first, wouldn't we? Yeah. All right. Jump into the story, the Jesus encounter about the bleeding woman. Luke chapter 8, starting in verse 40. And Jesus returned. The people welcomed him, for they had been waiting for him. Where had Jesus been? Well, he had been across the Sea of Galilee. When he went across, there was a big storm. And Jesus stopped the storm and the waves, and the disciples were amazed. Jesus showing that he has power over creation itself. In fact, when they got out of the boat, one of the Gospels records this in the book of Mark. They all said to each other, "Who is this guy?" The disciples themselves wondering, who is this Jesus? Who is this guy? We're thinking of being the Messiah who can actually stop the wind and the waves. When he gets there, a demon-possessed guy comes running up to him. He's been totally out of control. He's torn off his clothes. He's torn off the chains, broken the chains and the stuff they tried to control him with. He's been living in the tombs. He runs up to Jesus. Get that picture. Here's Jesus, gets out of the boat, walks onto the land. This guy comes charging at him. He is completely out of his mind. He charges up to Jesus and then falls at his feet and says, Jesus, son of David, what have we got to do with you? The demon-possessed guy, even if the disciples don't know, demon-possessed guy, the demons know who he is. Jesus casts the demons out of him. They go into the pigs. The pigs all rush down to the sea, and they're all destroyed. And the people beg Jesus to leave. Hey, you're costing us some serious money here. Our whole herd of pigs is now drowned. You need to get out of town. So Jesus gets in the boat. He returns to probably Capernaum where he set out from. When Jesus returned, the crowd welcomed him, for they're all expecting him. They're waiting for Jesus. Just then, a man named Jairus came. He was the leader of the synagogue. He fell down at Jesus' feet and pleaded with him to come to his house. Get the picture? He falls down at Jesus' feet. Now, he's a leader of the synagogue. He's a Jewish leader. And he falls at Jesus' feet. He says, oh, please come. Because he had an only daughter, 12 years old, and she was at death's door. She's ready to die. He's desperate. He's been waiting for Jesus to come back. As soon as Jesus comes, he falls down at his feet. Please come. And while he was going, verse 42, while he was going, the crowds were nearly crushing him. Anybody ever been in a big crowd? Now, you have not really been in a great crowd unless you've been to an Asian crowd. Peggy remembers, and I think Aaron remembers going to Hong Kong and being there. And I used to practice with teams in China. So we got to get used to crowds. You got used to how to do it. So we'd go to get on a bus or a tram. And I remember I had like 9 of us, and we're all lined up. I'm at the back to make sure everybody gets aboard. And I got a teenager leading this one. He's like a junior in high school, and he's the guy who's going to lead us onto the tram. So the tram comes along, stops at the stop. He doesn't move. I said, go, go. He said, this one's full. I said, they're all full. Get on. You'll be waiting until 2 in the morning, and then that one will be full. You push your way on. You don't wait. You push your way in. It looks like it's full. It's not like here. You push your way on. When you get on a bus to go somewhere in rural China, the bus doesn't leave until the bus is full. And not full like here. They have seats that fall down into the aisle. And until every seat is full, that bus doesn't move. Imagine I never sat in the back because I thought we get in a crash, I'm going to die because we're not getting out of here. They don't have emergency exits. Unless the thing, bursts a hole, you're not getting out. So we went to Beijing, Sharon and I, to do a Bible thing, and I thought Sharon needs to have the experience of a real Chinese crowd. So we went to the Forbidden City. This guy took us to the Forbidden City. And in China, you do not wait in line. There's no such thing as a queue or a line. There is a jam pile. So they have all these palaces. And the palaces have like a half door or a chain across the entrance. And there's like 3 big, huge doors with a chain across. And you can look inside. Now, if it's here, you have a line of people waiting to get their turn to go in and take their pictures. Not in China. Not at all. I remember we were in a bus station in Western China, and we're buying tickets for the bus. There's about 30 of us waiting to get tickets for this bus. The bus holds 42 people. Everybody's going to get a ticket. There's no problem. The bus isn't coming for another hour. Everyone's going to get on the bus. But when the ticket booth opens, every person in the waiting room runs to the ticket window, holding their money and hollering. So I did too, when in China. Do like the Chinese. I push my way in. Hey, 2 tickets to such and such. They don't understand the thing I'm saying. But I need tickets to this. You push in, you wave it at her, and she looks around. She grabs that one. And later she grabs that one. And then everybody gets their ticket, and then we all sit and wait a half hour for the bus to come. It's just the culture. So I take Sharon. Sharon's got to have the ultimate Chinese experience. She's got to have a crowd. So we go to the Forbidden City, and instead of just waiting in line, and everybody's got their cameras, and they're going to take a picture, they just jam pile. And there's how many people? Maybe 80 or 90 people in front of this door, and they're all trying to get to that thing. And so I said, Sharon, go get your picture. She's got her backpack in front of her so that people don't get it. She's pushing her way in, fighting her way in there. She finally gets to the front. She takes out her camera. She snaps her picture, and she fights her way out. Gets all the way out. I said, how'd it go? She said, that one guy is ready to hit him. She was irritated, but no one else was, because that's life. That's what you do. It's a crowd. It's what you do. This is the kind of crowd Jesus was in. He was in an Eastern crowd, not a Western one. They're not giving nice little space. Everybody's crushing around. It's a jam pile. While he was going, the crowds were nearly crushing him. You get the picture? This isn't a nice, orderly line. This is people just hollering, trying to get close to Jesus, just traveling along with him. A big crowd pressed around. He's with Josh. What's he doing? Where are they going? Everybody wants to know. Verse 43, a woman suffering from bleeding for 12 years who had spent all she had on doctors, yet could not be healed by any. Been hemorrhaging for 12 years. 12 years. She's been bleeding. She spent everything. She spent all her money. She's been to doctors. She's listened to family. Well-meaning friends have come. They've given her all kinds of stuff. She's tried everything. Nothing has worked. Nothing has changed her situation. Here she is. She came up behind him and touched the front of his cloak. Now, she's been hemorrhaging for 12 years. I don't know how much you know about Jewish law, but in a woman's menstrual period, or if she's bleeding in the same way, she is ceremonial unclean. She's unclean. And anything she sits on is unclean. Anybody that touches or sits on a chair or a bed she's been sitting on becomes unclean. And anyone she touches becomes unclean. For 12 years, anyone she touches, anyone who sits on her chair, anyone who sits on her bed becomes unclean. Because she can't get clean, because she continues to bleed. Are you with me? If it's just the bleeding stops, then she takes a bath, she washes her clothes, and the evening comes, she's again fit for the temple, fit for regular life. But for 12 years, she is isolated from regular contact from family and friends, because everyone she touches can't make a sacrifice. Anybody she touches can't go to temple. Anyone she touches, she makes unclean. 12 years. Can you imagine what that must have felt like? Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't let her get too close. Don't sit where she sits. She'll make you unclean. Don't be too close to her, because you'll be unclean then too. What that must have felt like to her for 12 years, being isolated. She's cut off from regular life. She just wants to get in and out. Do you notice how she comes up from behind? She's pushing her way through the crowd from behind. She doesn't want Jesus to see her. She's not like the Syrophoenician woman. She's not making a big fuss. She does not want to be noticed. Because everybody she's touching in that crowd, she's making them unclean. She's taking a huge risk that someone will recognize her and say, "Hey, what are you doing here? What are you touching all these people for? You're making us all unclean. You need to get out of here." She's trying not to be noticed. She's sneaking up. She's pushing her way through the crowd to get to Jesus. So, because she says this, if I touch him, if I just can touch the fringe of his garment, I know I'll be well. She knows who Jesus is, and she knows what he can do. The Syrophoenician woman, she made a fuss. She was not going to be denied. This woman's not going to be denied, but she wants to be unnoticed. She wants to get there. She touches him, and she immediately withdraws into the crowd. Can you imagine that moment? Put yourself in that position. She knows something happened to her. She knows she's been healed. 12 years of being cut off from normal life. Can you imagine what that must have been felt when she touched the fringe of his cloak and something happened inside of her? She knew it. Something changed. I remember I had some kind of chest infection, and Scripture says, call for the elders of the church. And I had prayed. Nothing seemed to happen. I was just getting worse. So I called my friend, Gary LaPlante, who was one of the elders. Would you come over and anoint me and pray for me? He came over, and he anointed and prayed for me, and something happened when he touched me. And I knew I was getting better from that instant. You know, healing starts now and continues. A miracle, everything's fixed right away, right? And so I knew I was healed. I became healed at that moment. I was healed. She knew the bleeding stopped. She could feel it. Imagine how you'd feel after 12 years, and suddenly you know. I mean, she touches him, she backs up, and she's just like, whew, wow, she's done it. She's touched him. She's healed. She can go home. She can start life again. Must have this sense of overwhelming joy just starting to well up in her. Whew. But Jesus says, who's the one that touched me? Yeah. Who's the one that touched me? Jesus feels the power that leaves him. He's being jostled by every side. He's being touched constantly, but he notices her touch, not theirs. How many of us are around Jesus all the time? We come to church, we go to Bible study, we pray, and yet we're not being touched by the Master. We're not drawing power from him. You see, sometimes Jesus heals somebody and it hasn't got to do with them. Did Lazarus have faith, or was he dead? He was dead. And Jesus raised him from the dead. The guy being carried along the funeral procession, did he exercise faith? No, he was dead, right? Sometimes it's just God acting, but this woman, she had faith. And that's just not some substance you carry around. She knew who Jesus was. She knew what he could do. If she could just get to him, she would be healed. She touched him, she's healed. She doesn't want to be noticed. How many of us are around Jesus, but we're not receiving from him? We come and we go, and nothing happens. I have a phone. I found out it can be set to do not disturb. Right? When it's on do not disturb, you can call me all day. I won't even know it. Right? I think sometimes our spiritual phone can be set to do not disturb. Sometimes because we don't want to hear what he has to say. Because he's touching some places in us that we don't want to be messed with. So we set it to do not disturb, and we miss out on everything that God's doing. Her touch draws power. What about my touch? What about yours? Who touched me, Jesus asked. They all denied it. I think that's great. They all denied it. The guys who were touching him denied it. Right? Why not just say, oh, I did. I was touching. Yeah, I touched you, Jesus. Oh, what's wrong with that? But everybody denies it. Because Jesus says, who touched me? Oh, no, not me. I didn't touch you. Oh, no, I didn't touch you. As if it's a bad thing. Right? How many times do we back away from Jesus? Afraid of what he might require of us. No, we didn't. And Peter says this, Master, the crowds are hemming you in and pressing against you. At least Peter's got enough guts to say, it's a stupid question, Jesus. There's people everywhere. How can you say that? How can you say that, Jesus? It's a dumb question. Someone did touch me, Jesus said. I know that power has gone out from me. Now, she's some ways off by now. But when the woman saw she was discovered, she came trembling and fell down before him. She notices. She hears. He knows. He knows what happened. She comes trembling. She's afraid. Why? She's made people unclean. Everybody that's touched her has become ceremonially unclean. She's a woman pressing in to touch a man. But she trusts Jesus in spite of her fear and anxiety about what people will think. She comes forward and falls at his feet. She takes the risk of exposing her condition and what she did. She comes trembling and she falls down and says, "It's me. I've been sick. Nothing's helped. I knew if I could touch you, I'd be healed. So I took the chance. And I pressed through the crowd. I came up behind you, and I touched the fringe of your cloak, and I was healed." And Jesus says, "Daughter." Daughter. He doesn't say woman, he says daughter. He gives her a family name. You're part of the family. Your faith has made you well. Go in peace. He accepts her as family. Jesus makes me part of his family when I came to him. Jesus makes all of us a part of his family when we come to him. Your faith has made you well, Jesus says. Faith's not a possession. It's a manifestation of a relationship. Even though she did not personally know Jesus, she had a relationship with him because she knew who he was. She knew what he could do. Her faith was in Jesus and his power and ability to heal her. She goes in peace. Guess what? If you're unclean, if you're unfit for God's presence, the touch of Jesus makes you fit. If you feel like the stuff I've done, the things I've been involved with, they make me unfit for God, not the touch of Jesus. Jesus touches you and he makes you clean. He makes the unclean clean. He cleanses. He heals. He delivers. He makes you fit. She has restored relationships. She can now be involved with her family. She can now be involved with the synagogue. She can be involved with life again. She's been restored to the community. She's no longer the unclean woman. Listen, you may be sick and need healing. You may have done something that makes you feel unclean. Everybody's been there. You might have broken relationships, but you can touch Jesus today if you're willing to press in and be recognized. I remember doing some stuff that I knew crossed the line. Couldn't fool myself anymore. I knew I'd made myself unclean. So I stopped going to church because, you're not right with God. You ought not to go where God is. But guess what? He's every place. He's not confined to the church building. He's not confined to the church people. He has no limits. He is everywhere. Go to hell. Jesus' presence is there. I was cut off from former friends, created distance from some family. That was the reality of my soul. Nothing I tried to make that different helped. Not until I came to Jesus and bowed before him in a pastor's garage office. When I reached out to touch him, he made me clean again. I need Marvin, wherever Marvin's gone. He's disappeared. Why don't you come? I need 5 guys quickly to come right now. 5 other guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. Need 2 more. Come on right up here. Need you right up here. Come on, Aaron. Don't be shy. All right. Need 1 more. Come on. Come on up. Come on right here. You're going to be Jesus. So Whoa. I need you over here, Jesus. Right in the back there. Right in the back row. The rest of you, come on up. Come on up. Crowd around. Get in my way. I want a crowd, and I want you right in the back of the crowd. Come on over here. Come on over here. Stop it.
You said be a crowd.
No, not towards me. Towards him. Towards him. You're crowding towards him. I'm not Jesus. He is. Okay. Okay. So over here, Aaron. I need to be able to press through the crowd. Here she is. She's got to press through the crowd. She's got to get to Jesus. Right? What stops us from getting to Jesus? Listen. Come on, crowd. Do your thing. Make a crowd. You got to get through here. You've got to do this. You've got to say, guilt. She's got guilt. She feels guilty. She's got to get over her guilt. She's got to get past her shame. She's got to get past her insecurity, her fear, her pride. She's got to get through all those things. She's got to fight through that just so she can touch. Listen, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Listen, it takes sometimes some effort. You got to fight through the stuff that's in your way to touch Jesus. You have to fight through it. You have to say, he's the one, he's the only one that can change my life in this area. Would you stand, please? He's the only one that can touch me. He's the only one that can do that. You might have been involved in some stuff that you feel unclean about, that you might have said some stuff, you might have done some stuff. You may be far from God, but guess what? Today, you can reach through and you can touch Him, and He can make you clean. So first of all, this morning, if you're not right with God, you can be, because He's the one who can make you clean. He's the one who can make you clean. Would you bow your heads for a moment? If that's you, and you know you're not right with God today, this morning, and you know you need to be, you're alone, you feel guilty about some stuff, you feel ashamed, the touch of Jesus turns that all around. And you can be restored to the family of God, be a part of His family, just by saying, Lord, here I am, would you touch me? If that's you today, and you're ready for a new life, would you raise your hand? I'm ready today, Pastor. I'm ready. Anybody here today that say, I'm far from God, or I'm just a little ways from God, but I know, Lord, you can touch me and you can change my life. Who's that today? Just raise your hand up and say, that's me, Pastor. I'm ready to receive from you. Okay. So that's all the rest of us then. Listen. Some of us, we've done stuff, we've said stuff, we've been involved in stuff that's made us feel like we're unfit. Maybe we've pushed the button, do not disturb, because we just can't deal with those things. Yeah, we want to be clean. We want that unfettered relationship with Jesus, but there's some stuff in the way that just needs to go. And the touch of Jesus can get you there, but you've got to get through your shame. You've got to get past the guilt. You've got to push your way through the insecurity and the fear. You've got to push that all aside. You've got to do and say, I'm going to get there today. I'm going to get through that crowd of stuff that's getting in my way from getting what I need from God. I'm going to push my way through. And this morning, I'm going to get what I need from Him, because I know if I touch Him, He'll change that stuff inside of me. He'll stop the bleeding. Jeremy's going to lead us in a song. And if you need to stop the bleeding today, if you need the touch of Jesus, as he begins this song, I want you to come. Don't hesitate. Come right now. Just begin to come and say, Lord, I need you. And let's press through this morning and do away with all the stuff that holds us back, no matter how small, no matter how large, whatever guilt, shame, whatever things that you're dealing with, push that aside. I want to meet you down here.